you, Paulina. And Paulina's actually going to stay with me, so we're still going to hear more from you.
Yep.
I want to invite two more wonderful ladies up on stage. So I want to invite up the Senior Manager for EY and CEO and Investor of Welsh Street, Caroline Fletcher and Evelina Antilla. Take a seat. Hello, hello, and thank you for a brilliant talk, Paulina.
Thank you.
And welcome back to the stage, Caroline, as you were here for the focus session. And welcome to the stage for the first time, Evelina.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. Wow. Amazing.
It's a great crowd here. So there was actually a question that came in on the app that I thought we would start with. And I'm going to not start easy. So the question is, why AI? And you can interpret that as you like, but I would like to maybe pose that first to you, Evelina.
Yeah, interesting. I would actually phrase it a bit different. I think I would say how. Because we have an ongoing AI hype for sure. But what we do see is that there are early data suggesting that there's a massive transformation happening. So today, all companies, I would say, are tech companies. And in a few months, maybe, we will talk about AI companies. So I think it's more about how you sort of approach AI, how you implement AI, and the strategies you put into it, the long-term vision, the short-term vision. And those are, questions that should be in the entire organization. So I think it's a lot about like a leadership question.
Yeah? What about you, Caroline? Why AI? It's a very hard phrase to say, by the way. Why AI is quite a tongue twister.
And as someone who asks questions for a living, that's a really chewy, juicy one. Well, I think for me, what I always want to remember is that AI fundamentally is a technology. It's something that enables us, and it ultimately is technology by humans for humans. So at its best, it creates this incredible access to information and connects us better as the world. And I think that's why I would say why AI. Being an optimist, I would say it's about that freedom of information and learning and access that has been quite rarefied in the past and limited to many people, and now it opens it up to many.
What about you, Paulina?
I know people who would say because we can, and that's it. But I'm a bit more harsh than that. I would say that we put ourselves in a huge shit show, and we need AI to solve some of the huge problems that we're in because we can't do it as humans on our own. We need the help of AI, basically. Yeah.
Yep. And speaking of the help of AI, you came up with some very interesting examples of how some people have solved their life's problems with AI. But I'm curious, what's a weird or wacky way that you've worked with AI in your day-to-day work, or that it saved your ass, really? One time it saved your bacon.
Well, so I don't really have, the talk to your ex example is the weirdest thing I've seen, but I can tell you like one really stressful situation. Yes. So I was supposed to, at Internetdagarna, interview remotely this New York-based entrepreneur, and I thought via his assistant that he knew that he was expected to actually give a speech, but I realized when we went live that he hadn't prepared anything, and I was just standing there as a moderator not knowing what I should do. But fortunately, this was more like a TV studio setting, so I had my computer and I had ChatGPT on it, as always. And so I quickly, because he was sort of known enough for the AI model to know who he was, I quickly asked for give me 10 questions to ask to this person. I'm in a panel with him right now. And 5 seconds later, I had all the questions I needed, and I don't think nobody noticed at all what happened.
If that's not a problem solver, I don't know what is. I mean, being a moderator of a panel now, the idea that someone would not know, it would take you, first you'd have to get over the stress, and then you'd have to also find it. So I think that's an amazing example. Do you have anything like that, Caroline?
I have. It's not my story, but I do have a friend who used ChatGPT to plan how she renegotiated her rent with her landlord, which I think was pretty amazing. From everything from really like interrogating questions to pulling all of the data that backed her request, and it totally worked. She got her rent decreased. So
amazing.
There we go. Well done, her.
I don't have a funny story like that, but I use it a lot. I mean, in my daily life. We are investing in tech companies, so that helps a lot to sort of source and screen companies and use AI for that. I use ChatGPT a lot, and I actually used it to find a gift for my husband when his birthday was. But, so maybe that's a funny one.
Yeah. What was the gift?
It was a sweater.
Okay, sorry. I was hoping something more fun was going to go.
Then you know my level. So.
I actually just thought of a funny, when you said it helped reduce the rent, I can actually use a funny way where it went against us. So my boyfriend was using ChatGPT because we were being basically screwed over by our landlord. So we were trying to work out the Swedish law and like, okay, what's the law and you know, what are we entitled to? And he did it so much that ChatGPT thought he was a fraudster and he got banned from ChatGPT.
Oh, wow.
He's in the audience somewhere. I still don't think he can access it because they think he's a bot. So sometimes you can go too. Not human enough.
True.
But I know you, Evelina. You've been speaking a lot, and I know you're an investor with startups as well. And you've been speaking a lot about how startups should be using these, you know, AI tools and tech tools for their advantage. So, could you give a little insight into how you would recommend using them, and what do you think is the most important for a startup now?
Yeah, I mean, it's never been a better time to sort of jump on the AI train, I would say. It's so many exciting opportunities out there. However, I think it's important, and this is actually something I brought with me from my previous life as sort of a builder of an AI company where we offered AI solutions, AI technology for other companies, is that you need to look at the AI problem fit. So many startups, or most of the startups, are looking for, you know, this product market fit. But I think when it comes to AI initiatives, we can learn from that sort of concept in finding a solution to a problem and where AI can really make a true difference. Because otherwise you end up on this graveyard with POCs, like proof of concepts, and you don't sort of take it further. So I think what's really important with this concept is to sort of say, okay, for this problem, could AI actually be used to leverage and sort of make this solution powerful? Because not all problems warrants the application of AI.
No.
So that's the first. And the other thing I would say is there's so many exciting things right now, and we're sort of trying to see. I think it's also interesting to remember, because today at least, when you talk about AI, we sort of talk about AI in the sense of AI being generative AI. Generative AI is a small part of AI. So LLMs, for example, that's one part of machine learning. But what's really interesting, if you look at that sort of niche right now, is that we see a tech stack being built. And from an investor perspective, I think it's interesting to see if you're building a company, for example, and an AI company, where in the tech stack are you? Are you a hardware provider? Are you a cloud provider? Or are you a model provider like OpenAI, and we have open source models? Or are you at the top, the application layer, where you're sort of using AI to solve real problems? For example, a legal tech company. And from my sort of glasses as an investor, I think it's really interesting to see then, okay, if you're building this application startup, where are your moats? And when I talk about moats, I talk about defensibility. Because right now, there are popping up AI companies as mushrooms, which I think is great. But it's also important to understand that when the cost of intelligence is basically going to zero, everyone has access to this powerful technology. Where is your USP? And sort of how do you build defensibility? And then it's interesting to see, okay, is there like proprietary data? Is it like the customer base? Or is there like, I don't know, a go-to-market that is something else? That's really interesting. But it's also really hard to be an investor right now. And I think the most important stuff is basically to understand the importance of what you don't know, and that we are all here. Because there's a lot of like AI experts right now, and I think you should be like humble and understand that we don't know where we will be in 6 months from now.
No, and I think anyone that can recognize that. This is actually a perfect, because you just mentioned Gen AI, which is one part of AI, and there's someone sitting on the sofa that has over 5,000 hours of research into this field of Gen AI, another tongue twister. But maybe, and I know you've worked a lot with corporate companies, which tend to be a little slower to adopt new systems and new ways of working. So what's your take on it?
Well, it's a big challenge for these organizations. Many of the clients and organizations I work with are regulated. The idea of having a hackathon, moving quickly, breaking things, testing things, don't work. It's just fundamentally not safe for many of them. So what we are working with a lot right now is how do you create experimental spaces? How do you create sandboxes? How do you create safe places for employees to try things? I think also in large organizations, what becomes really important is how they work cross-functionally. So how are they identifying problems that impact an entire business, not just a marketing function or supply chain or R&D? How are they thinking about things that move across all of those and then starting and focusing there?
And we just got a question pop in. How can we prevent the destructive uses or developments of AI? Paulina?
Oh, we can do it in many different ways. We can definitely do it with technology, guardrails in different ways, but they're pretty easy. At least so far, it's been pretty easy to hack your way through them. But the most safe way, I would say, is to make sure that you include people in your team that say stop. Stop min kropp. We talked about stop min kropp.
For any non-Swedish speakers, that means stop my body.
Exactly. Stop my AI, or whatever you're supposed to say in these contexts. So you need brave people and people who ask the right questions, but also say, no, we're not taking this road. And my guess is that means that you need more women in your team and minorities in general, and not just white men who tend to be more, why not? Let's do it. And don't really know what more difficult questions to ask. So that's my go-to recommendation.
Maybe that's a new movement. You know, we need to have more naysayers in teams rather than just yaysayers.
Yes.
Do you agree?
I just wanted to say about the stop min kropp. I actually heard one person saying, and I can't credit her because I can't remember the name of it, but she said like, shut up GPT instead of like chat GPT, then you have shut up GPT. And I think maybe we need something like that. But to sort of jump in on there, I think also we need regulation. And I think a big sort of realization for many people was when we saw the fight in OpenAI on board level, and the CEO was fired, and you sort of saw very clearly that there were two parts of it: people that were cautious about the risks and sort of the implications that AI will have to society, and that we sort of need to take a step back and see what that will look like. And then we had, on the other hand, the one that just want to push things and move forward. So I think regulation is needed. We have an upcoming AI Act, and it's not going to be great, but I think at least we will take a couple of steps further to realize that risks are here. But I also wanted to mention that what Paulina said, and that's all about what I'm really worried about right now, is that we have this ongoing revolution, and half of the population is basically missing out. I mean, if we're looking at who are writing the research papers, who are building the AI companies, who are the people that get funded, women are not part of this cake. So that's really frustrating, I mean, both as an investor, but also as a citizen and a mom, because this is our future. So I think it's super important to do what you said, to make sure that people are on board. And also, it's not too late. I think we can sort of compare this to the internet era and when it came. We're like in 1996 right now. It's not too late to jump on the wagon, so do it.
And that's a great sort of like one of the last moments. So time is running out, and I just wanted each of you to just give a word of advice or, you know, a recommendation for the people in the audience, if you could, about how to use AI in their everyday life.
Oh, There are so many ways. I would just recommend people to start using it in their everyday lives. Not everyone is doing it. Yeah. So I use it, like, for my talk today, I uploaded my script because it's not confidential in any way, and I was like, criticize it, be really tough. Like, I can take it, especially when it comes from a computer. Yes, it's not personal. It's a computer criticizing me. You know, I can shut it off if it's too brutal.
You can shut up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and I got great feedback. So that's one example.
And you did a fantastic talk. So it clearly worked very, very well. What about you, Caroline?
Well, in my focus session earlier today, I talked about how, as humans, we're inherently skeptical and fearful of what we don't understand. So I think to get over that, it's the same as Paulina. You've just got to give it a try.
Just give it a go. Yeah. Evelina, any final words?
I just agree with what you just said. It's not too late, and be curious. That's the most important part.
So we can end on the note of stay curious, and there's a lot more to unpack, but you'll be here as well for people to pick your brains. So I just want to say thank you for sharing your insights on the big stage today, and I'm sure we're all very grateful, so we'll give you a big round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.